So my name's Abigail Reynolds. I'm an artist based in St Ives. We're in my studio at Porthmeor, and I'm working with the British Art Show to create new work which I've developed over the 4 cities called Elliptical Reading. I was invited by the curators of British Art Show 9, Hamad and Irene, to create a work for libraries, and I wanted to make a work that would activate all the parts of a library that I think are very important, which to me are 3 elements. So there are the readers, because a library is nothing without the readers who come together and use that library, the collection, the books, and the architecture. So I feel I'm a maker, I make sculpture. I feel very strongly about the material world. For me, it's not the same to read a book digitally as materially. So I wanted to celebrate the book, and I wanted to celebrate that you would read a real book in real space. And I can sort of imagine a moment in the future where the idea of reading a real book in real space will be so tantalizing for people. They will be amazed that we ever could do it, because we just won't be able to anymore. So while we still have it, I'm kind of nailing my colours to that mast. So to just start from the outside, so thinking about the architecture of that building, that space of the library. British libraries are often have terrible carpet tiles, strip lighting, they are, on their knees, they have no funding. So I wanted to celebrate that space by bringing light and colour in. So I've worked with very high key window film to make friezes across the windows. And as I'm working, I'm thinking about book forms, the forms of opening books which create angles, and shafts of light which also create angles. And then into that I've brought the hands of the readers, so the people who are reading the books, because the core of elliptical reading is a reading group. That's the middle of it, and everything else comes out from that. So the hands on the windows are the hands of the readers who use that library. But I feel very moved by an action that happened in the 80s at Greenham Common Women's Peace Camp called Embrace the Base, where a circle of thousands and thousands of women circled the base holding hands. And when St Just Library was threatened with closure in 2014, we did an action called Hands Around the Library, which was a circle of people holding hands around the library in a kind of embrace. So for me to have those hands on the architecture of the library and the windows kind of brings that sense of touch, that personal element on, right onto the fabric of the library. And that was something I really was excited to do. I was thinking that for me, a library isn't some sort of performance, it's a habit. It's something you do every week, it's part of your daily life or your weekly or monthly life. You get those books, you read them, you return them, you have this flow in and out of the library, you're aware of other people using it. It's like, it's this kind of safe, trusting space, and it's kind of like just part of your life. So I wanted to create something that would bring people every week to the library, where they would share a fragment of one of their favourite books. The reason it's called elliptical reading is for 2 reasons. One, it's not a reading circle, because it's not, it's wonky because everybody's reading a different book. So the first reader opens their book and they read for 2 minutes from whatever their favourite book is, and on 2 minutes we immediately pass to the second reader who starts reading their book. And these 2 books have nothing in common at all, except that they are books that are loved by these readers. So it's like a collage. So I work a lot in collage, where you juxtapose elements that wouldn't normally be put together, and by putting these elements together you create a new context for what is meant by those elements. So that's something that I find really enjoyable. I do it a lot with imagery from books, and here I'm doing it with people. So it's like social collage. The books, I've rebound them, and they are bound with the reader's hand on the cover rather than the title, because for me, what I'm saying is important is that sense of connection and a personal touch. I feel like I've asked people to share a book that they care about really deeply and is part of their identity. So to have the hand there kind of makes that more obvious. And because I've rebound the books, they become artworks, because I really feel that libraries should be full of beautiful things. Because it's a library, you can have artworks that you can handle. in a gallery that wouldn't be possible. So I'm pushing with the boundaries here of artworks and how they operate. Elliptical reading, in essence, is a really simple work. It's a reading group where people share their favourite books in little snippets. But in order to implicate the whole of the library, because I think all of the elements of the library are so important, it kind of spills over into being about bookbinding, about window glazing, about the touch and togetherness and hands.